Hello, everyone. This is a piece of mesquite that I've had in the shop for a while, and I decided to turn it. I have a unique project that I decided to narrate because there is a lot of different parts to this, and some of it needs to be explained. Because what I'm doing is I decided to put some small horseshoes and weld a basically a embellishment ring, and then put it into this bowl. So I got the bark knocked off. I got put a faceplate on it, and I have it mounted onto the lathe. And then I'm going to start working on the bottom of the bowl and get it rounded off and get it where I want it to. What I'm doing here is I'm marking for the mortise on the bowl. Because what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn this around and I'm going to turn the inside of this bowl using this mortise. I took out a lot of the sanding because it's really pointless. I started at about 80 grit and I went up to 600. What I'm doing here is I'm actually putting some detail in the bottom just to kind of give the bottom a little bit more finished look to it. And I'm going to take a piece of Formica and I'm going to burn two dark rings on the inside and the outside of the foot. Now I'm going to take, it's called a Robert Sorby texturing tool, and this is going to put little grooves in there that's just going to give it, again, just a little bit more of a finished look. And you can see the spirals that it's created. Now that I have the bottom finished, I'm going to come around, I'm going to take the faceplate off, and I'm going to mount it with the mortise, and then I'm going to basically what we call face off the front and make it flat. So here's the first part I need to explain. I'm fixing to put a mortise on the top of this because I'm actually going to cut probably the top inch and a half off. And so I need a way to mount it back on the lathe. And so I created a mortise so that when I cut that off, I can actually flip it around and keep working on it. So what I'm using a parting tool, and I turned it as far as I could, and then I decided to use a handsaw to cut the rest of the way. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to flatten this again. And the reason why I'm doing that is I need to get the diameter and the circumference of the piece so that I can make the ring that I'm going to weld up. So now I'm starting to make the ring for the bowl. And unfortunately, I lost the footage of me actually welding the horseshoes onto the rings that I want to make. But this is the process I went through to make the rings. So this is a ring bender that I got from Harbor Freight. And what it does is it bends it into a perfect circle. And this allows me to fit it better than if I was trying to just bend it by hand. So now I have the top back on the lathe, and that's actually going to be the part you're seeing is going to be part toward the bottom. And so again, I'm going to face this off, get it level, get it straight, and then I'm going to cut the grooves for the ring and plus part it off from the top. So now that I have it flat, I'm actually going to put the ring up there and try to find the center of it. And then I'm going to make a mark, and that's where I'm going to cut my groove. The first groove that I'm going to cut is very shallow because what I'm trying to do is match the circumference of the ring up to the circumference of what I cut, and then I will make it deeper once I get a good fit. Now I'm using a parting tool again, and now I'm going to cut the rim off. And as you'll see here in just a minute, it does work, but unfortunately, when it comes off, it's going to come off in about 5 pieces. So here you have the middle of it, and there's the pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some CA glue, and I'm going to repair the rings. I should say the rim, not the rings, because the ring is the metal part. But anyway, I was able to put them back together, glue them up, and actually was able to save the rim. Now we're kind of jumping back to the bottom of the bowl. And so what we're going to do on this is kind of the same process we did with the rim. I'm going to face it off, find the center, cut the groove, and then hollow out the inside and get it to a nice thickness that I want. Then I got a visit from my shop buddy who likes to come and sit behind me right in front of the fans, but that's okay. I enjoy her being there. Again, I showed a little bit of sanding. I did not show all of it. I sanded from 60 to 600 this time, and I finished the bottom of the bowl. Now we're going back to the rim of the bowl to finish it out. So the bottom is done. Now we're trying to finish out the rim. And I made this little guide where I can try to get it centered so that I can sit there and finish turning the rough edges off and then sand and get it finished. Well, once I get it centered, I need to attach it, and what I use is I use hot glue in just a few places. That way, it will hold it while I finish it. Now, we're not putting a lot of stress on this. We're just trying to get it to where it stays so I can finish it. So I had to find a way to sand the rim, and I fiddled with the several ways to do it, but I finally came up with I'm going to use a Jacob's chuck with a sanding pad, and that way I could sand the sides, the outside, the inside, the top, and the bottom, and get a very consistent sanding on it. So now that I have the rim done, I have the bottom done and finished, now it's time to put it all together. So what I'm using is 5-minute epoxy, but I also got some black dye because I wanted to kind of hide the glue in it. And so I mixed it up, added the dye, and then I got a 12 mil syringe and I put it in there, and then I just squeezed it along the groove that I cut for the ring. Then I put it in the bottom first. I let that set for a couple hours because I want to make sure it's good and set, and I didn't want to turn it over and then it drip. So then I just repeated the same process with the rim and got it all glued up and got it together, and it turned out really well.